Our initial certification is the first type of form, 380E form. You request that of the employee every time there's an FMLA leave request, a new one. So if someone already has FMLA paperwork in for one condition, and they come to you and they say, well, I need FMLA because I've got this other condition, that's a whole new event, a whole new set of paperwork. Now remember, that first set of paperwork you're providing to the employee, it's a big stack. Your first document you're giving them is their notice of rights and responsibilities. It's a critical document. You have to give it to them within 5 days of you learning of their need for FMLA leave. But at the same time you provide that document to them, you're providing them with the medical certification form, because that's going to start triggering their time period for getting the information back so they can justify the leave, so you can determine whether it's a qualifying event. The medical certification form, they have 15 days to return it to you. This 15 days is not a hard and fast deadline. Make sure that you have a calendaring system that when someone comes to you with an FMLA request, you've got all of the dates set, so you know that within 5 days I have to give the initial paperwork. You should have something that will mark that off, some documentation internally that shows that you in fact did give them that paperwork. Also, the triggering for the 15 days of the return, I like to see a little bit before that 15 days or right on that 15 day, a follow-up reminder to the employee, usually an email that says, hey, on this date, we gave you the initial certification, or we gave you the medical certification paperwork, it's due on this date. About the 15 days, that is a fuzzy deadline. Don't make it hard and fast, because the regulations talk about there'll be circumstances where the employee can't get it back to you because they're not getting cooperation from their healthcare provider. So you make the inquiry, and if the employee has not even bothered to turn the paperwork over to the healthcare provider, then you can deny or delay the leave. If they're saying, yes, I've given it to the doctor, but they're not getting it back to me, give them a little bit more time, be reasonable. And tell them, though, what the expectation is. Don't leave it open-ended. Say, okay, I understand your doctor's not cooperating. We'll give you another 3 days to get that paperwork in, and put that in writing. Make it an email so you've got your documentation trail. Once the paperwork comes into you, make sure that you don't just acknowledge that it's there and put it in a file and say everything's fine. Your work really begins when you get the medical certification back, because you have to go through that certification, make sure it's complete, make sure that the healthcare provider has filled out all of the information you need to make the determination whether it's a covered event. You also need to make sure that it looks right, that it's actually a healthcare provider that's filling it out, and it's not your employee's aunt who just happened to be with the employee at the time. So you look for any sorts of issues, and if there are issues, you have the ability to give that paperwork back to the employee. And when I say give the paperwork back, I don't mean actually give them that document. Make a copy of it and give them a copy, and identify on that document what the problem is so they can send it back to the healthcare provider. Also, put a cover letter that explains what the problem is. So I do, again, belts and suspenders. Cover letter says, hey, the doctor didn't fill out the duration of the condition, so put that in there, make sure the employee knows, tell the employee has to get back in 7 days, and then on the form, the copy that you're giving back, highlight and circle that area so the doctor or healthcare provider can go directly to it and fill it back out. When you're looking at the medical certifications, blank responses, unknowns, don't accept them. Send them back, and if they come back that same way, blank, send them back again. If they come back unknown and the healthcare provider is just not willing to provide firm information on it, you're kind of stuck with it. But if it comes back blank again, I'd send it back. There's no reason why you can't. And tell the employee that your healthcare provider has to give us this information or your leave will be delayed or denied. It's your responsibility to make sure this information comes back to us. You have 7 days to resubmit the corrected or completed form. Make sure that the employee knows that time frame. Put it on the cover letter. Because when you give them that medical certification form back, copy, saying we need this information, there's nothing on that form itself that says that 7-day deadline. So make sure you provide a cover letter with them saying, look, we need this information, return to us within 7 days. So they understand, and also put in that magic language too, that failure to do so may result in a delay or denial of your leave. You have the option to deny leave if they don't get all the paperwork back. Make sure, though, that's really what you want to do. That's going to be one of those decision points where you want to have some outside help, because a lawyer or another consultant is going to ask you a bunch of questions about, are there other leave options? Why are you denying the leave? Did you give them enough time? You need someone to walk you through that process, because that is a liability triggering event. So you don't want to take that decision lightly. You want to make sure that you've looked at all the factors, you've got everything to justify it, you've got the paperwork to support the decision, and then make the decision and communicate that decision in writing. This is never a verbal, hey, you didn't get that form back, we're denying leave. Leave it at that. You want something in your file that shows exactly what you did and why.